What's up, guys? Good Thursday afternoon. My name is Jerry Miller. Welcome to the I Love CVille Show. It's great to connect with you through the I Love CVille network. As you know, we are live in Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world. Mike Keenan is our guest. We will welcome him to the program in T-minus 45 seconds. The co-founder of the Juice Laundry, kind enough to give us his most precious commodity, his time, for the next 50 minutes to 60 minutes as we spotlight his journey from undergraduate school at Emory in Atlanta to law school at the University of Virginia to entrepreneurship here in Charlottesville, Virginia. This dude, mighty smart, and we're going to spotlight that intellect here on the program. Before we do, you know we're an advertising agency at V&V Brands and at I Love CVille, the most market share in Charlottesville. As of this morning, 114 clients on our active roster from New Providence, New Jersey, all the way to Asheville, North Carolina. We love what we do. We love connecting with you guys and working alongside business owners as we help make their dreams a reality or try to take revenue or market share to another level. Two of our favorite clients, Interstate Pest and Service Companies and Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. On the second floor of this building, our building, we represent all aspects of their brand. Interstate started in 1969 in Charlottesville with the first generation, Mr. Robert Wells, who used his personal truck in 1969 and payphones around the community to build a company. Today, Interstate has almost 100 team members and a Commonwealth-wide working footprint. 4 generations of family running the business. Super awesome. I hope one day we get to that capacity at our company. No pressure on my son, who is 2 years old, and right now probably crapping his pants somewhere at my house. Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, physical therapy, chiropractic care, sports medicine. Dr. Wagner is changing people's lives. We love you, Dr. Wagner. Now, Judah Wickhauer is our director, my friend Judah. Let's go to the studio camera and let's welcome a guy who is super smart, very credentialed, highly degreed, and Mike Keenan. Welcome to the program, Mike.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. First question is the same for all our guests. Humanize, personalize, and localize you. What is Mike Keenan all about? Passions, hobbies, and interests.
So, where to begin with that? My passion really is trying to make a difference and make, bring awareness to things that are important, both to my wife and myself. So Sarah's my wife. She is very intimately involved in the juice laundry business. And, we kind of look at what we're doing with the juice laundry as an extension of things that are important to us as humans. So, sustainability, making this earth somewhere that we're going to be able to continue to live and enjoy for decades and centuries to come, rather than kind of continuing down the path that we're currently on.
I love that. So a social entrepreneur, someone who's committed to leaving his footprint in a better place than when you first arrived on the planet. Totally respect that. Similar mindset here. You mentioned off air you grew up in Fairfax in Northern Virginia.
Yes.
What was growing up like?
So I'm one of 8 kids.
Damn.
Yes, I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters. My parents, who actually somewhat recently relocated down to Crozet from Nova.
Cool.
They both are huge integral parts of the juice laundry now. They've retired, but aren't really retired because now they work at the shops.
Nice.
So if you ever pop in, you've definitely seen Cliff and Sherry there, who are my parents.
Cliff and Sherry, hello.
Yeah. So, growing up, it was crazy. We were definitely like an active, busy family. We all played sports. Basically, it was a whirlwind of activity, just constantly, from basketball to baseball, soccer practices, all that sort of stuff.
So where were you in the pecking order of the 8 kids?
I'm third.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got 2 older sisters and then 5 below me. Yeah.
So what's tougher, the sisters or the brothers in a family of 8?
Oh, man. It depends on who you ask, but, I think that we have very strong personalities, I'd say, almost to a man and woman in my family, and so we all definitely know how to give it and can take it too. So
we were talking off air. It seems like sports and competitiveness and being the best version of yourself, very important to you, Mike.
Yeah, we're competitive too, to a fault. Some might say, But
why do you say that?
Well, look, for me, even when you're at your most competitive, like it's still love with people who you're close to and who you love and respect and appreciate. So, we could be playing, some stupid family game at, Christmas time or Thanksgiving time when we're all around, and things get heated, but like it's all in love, and it's just kind of how we are.
Yeah.
I have an idea for an app that like keeps score on like family games, like stupid shit that people don't, because everyone, and my thought is like everyone in my family thinks that like they're the best.
Yeah.
Like, they always win this game, they always win that game. And I think it would be great to have like an app, and my family hates me for bringing it up because they're like, we don't need any more competition. We don't need any, now you're trying to keep score on all this stuff. And I'm like, it would just be fun, to be able to like say who actually is the best. So yeah, we're competitive, but like we have fun with it. And, again, like it's 8 strong personalities. So like we butt heads and we challenge each other, but, it's, we're also a close family and it's all in love.
Let me throw this to you. Do you, and it sounds like my family, your family, I am, my wife would say, over the top competitive, almost tenacious to, like you said, your phrase, to a fault.
Yeah. My wife would say the same about me. Probably.
Okay. Do we, in the grand scheme of things, we just want to be the best versions of ourselves. We want the best from the folks that are in our ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fair.
Is it a bad mentality? I cannot turn it off, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Look, I don't think there's anything bad about it unless like unless you're harming someone else, if it's just if it's competition and good fun, I don't see anything wrong with that. I agree with you. It's kind of like there's a certain drive to succeed and be the best you can be, whether it's some silly game you're playing or whether it's your business, your livelihood, or as serious as that. So I don't see anything wrong with it.
It clearly worked out for you. You go from Northern Virginia to Emory in Atlanta, out of state, to one of the best schools in the country. That's straight up legit comment what I just said. That is no easy task. Why Emory? How do you go from Fairfax to Atlanta? What was going on for you as an 18-year-old going from Fairfax to Atlanta? What was that like?
Well, so it was really almost entirely driven by baseball.
Okay.
So I played baseball at Emory.
Okay.
And, so coming out of high school, that was a huge part of what I wanted out of my college experience.
Okay.
And so I went to a high school, TJ, Thomas Jefferson, up in Northern Virginia, Alexandria, and a ton of TJ kids come to UVA.
Yeah.
So
that's a big time school.
Yeah. And I kind of discounted UVA, even though one of my older sisters went here, loved it, loved visiting, because I felt like it would just kind of be like high school 2.0, and I wanted something a little bit different than that. Also, I'm not too modest to say that playing baseball at UVA would have been a little bit of a stretch for me. I was a good high school player, but I was not like a phenomenal top prospect type.
Okay.
So going to Emory allowed me, more certainty in terms of continuing my baseball career, and at a school with great academics, and I just loved when I visited at one time, and I just felt really at home there, and it was exciting to me to go explore a new city that was kind of far away from where I grew up, and not kind of being right in the same vicinity. So that was that. Emory is in a part of Atlanta that's not dissimilar to Charlottesville.
Right.
I'd say.
It's so similar.
Yeah. It's kind of like
it's almost a bubble.
It is. Yeah. And that might have been part of what attracted me to it. And And then once I was done there, when I sort of decided that law school was going to be my next move, and as I kind of mentioned to you, I just wasn't really ready to get a job and do that whole thing at that point in my life. So I decided I would go to law school. My dad is an attorney. He was with the government up in D.C. for basically my entire life, and at that point, I really wanted to kind of come back, and UVA was by far my top choice. I don't know. I was probably the last person they accepted in the class of 2008.
I believe that.
I think I just snuck in right at the very end, but I made it, and then was able to spend an awesome 3 years in law school here.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to relay the props that are coming in. Here's the cool thing about the show, guys, and any of the 12 Facebook pages you're watching the show on, you can give Mike Keenan some props or like and share the feed. Put your props in the comment section, and I will pass it along on air to him. James Tickle says, "The juice, I love it. I went to chiropractic school in Atlanta. Hot Atlanta is a great party city." Yeah. Great job on the show here, Mike. Heather Hayslip is watching. Casey Daisy watching right now. John Hunt.
Casey Daisy, former TJL team.
Yeah, John Hunt is watching.
What's up,
in Keswick. Andre Xavier, the co-founder of CVille Hop On Tours, watching. James Watson, an entrepreneur, watching. Ray and Terry Cadell.
UVA
you know James Watson?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, James
UVA
Watson,
law,
good people.
Yeah.
Dustin Wade, welcome to the program. You're getting props from Becca Jackson. Right now.
What's up?
So how do you go from Atlanta? I mean, it sounds like you had some influence with your dad being an attorney. From Atlanta to UVA Law School. I mean, UVA Law School, a badass law school, dude.
Yeah, it's a great school. I mean, I did okay on my LSATs, and I had, I guess just barely good enough grades to get in. I mean, I'm being serious. Like, my credentials put me in the, kind of like the sneak-in range to UVA Law.
As long as you're in.
Right, and exactly. And then, you just got to do well enough to make it to the end. But,
right.
I mean, there are some legitimately brilliant people who, have gone to UVA Law and who, who I went to school with. Honestly, part of what I loved about UVA Law is that it wasn't the same sort of like cutthroat environment, and I guess this may not square with my competitiveness, but when it comes to academics, I didn't want to go to a place where it was like, people were, up 24/7, and I mean, it was all about the exams and being, getting the top score and getting the best job. And I mean, UVA Law has a reputation, I think rightly so, as being a place where it's as much about kind of the community and really kind of being part of something that's fun and entertaining and in addition to obviously the education. So I mean, we played a lot of softball, we drank a lot,
nice,
and had a lot of fun.
Like both.
I mean, it was it was a good time, and I mean, my law school crew, I mean, we still, we're still really close, and they're some of the best people that I know. So yeah.
When you finish law school, you're like, what's going through your mind? How old are you?
So I'm like, man, what was that, 2008? So I'm like 25 or so.
Okay.
And at that point,
you're 36 now?
I'm 37.
Okay,
yeah.
37
yeah.
now. Okay, same age.
Yeah. So at that point, it's sort of like, all right, like shit just got real. Like I now I don't only have my undergrad loans, but I've got all these law school loans, and now I really can't put off entering the workforce any longer. I need to go out and start making some money. So it's a little bit.
What'd you do?
I worked for a law firm in D.C.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that miserable?
Honestly, no. I mean, I think a lot of recent law school grads, young associates at law firms, especially in bigger cities, DC, New York, LA, I think it can be miserable for a lot of people. You're working really long hours. I worked at a little bit of a smaller firm. We were still a mid-size firm, not tiny, but like, I think that afforded a different sort of experience than going to, kind of one of the biggest firms in the country, or even one of the worldwide firms. It was also a really interesting time to be entering that world, because it was I started working in the fall of 2008. It was right in the midst of the
crash.
recession.
Yeah.
I mean, the crash. Everything was kind of going down at that point. A bunch of people who I went to law school with had jobs for like 2 months and then lost their jobs.
Dang.
Because a lot of law firms, were kind of in the same position as the banks and other big companies. Then they got really bloated and and they had to start trimming the fat, and that meant either the highest paid people or like the brand new people who they really hadn't really invested in at that point. So I mean, I went to school with people who did way better than me and were working at these prestigious law firms all over the country, and some of them were out of jobs within a couple months. So it was a crazy time. Fortunately, it didn't really affect my firm. Partly the work that we did was a little bit more insulated from kind of the whole banking and all that. But no, I didn't have a bad experience by any stretch. I liked. I won't say I loved the work I was doing. I mean, I was mostly bored and not really passionate about it. But as far as like the people I worked with and the experience that I had, it was fine. Yeah.
We got folks in Carytown watching right now.
Right on.
Folks outside Charlotte watching right now. I see your influence with folks in Atlanta and Northern Virginia watching. Folks outside Philly, welcome to the program. I see Nashville in the house. Carrie Vernon, welcome to the program. Guys, give it a like and a share on any of these 12 Facebook pages. So you leave law school at UVA. You go to a mid-sized firm in D.C. You got to chase some paper because you got some student debt.
Yeah.
What kind of workload are we talking? I won't even venture to say 9 to 5 at that point, right?
No, but I mean, I think a lot of, I wasn't working like 80, 90 hour weeks.
Okay.
I mean, I was probably doing like 50, 60.
That's great.
Yeah, it was fun. And, the money was good and it let me, I'm still paying off law school loans, but I mean, it let me pay some of that off and kind of get my footing back. And I mean, it wasn't, starting my own business was not something that when day one of the law firm had in mind at all. It was not even on my radar. I figured I would probably work, at this firm for, however many years and then maybe, transition to a different area of law. Like I said a little earlier, my dad was a government prosecutor and assistant U.S. attorney for a number of years. There was a time where I thought maybe that might be a direction I would try to go in. And, ultimately it just kind of hit me right in, about between years 3 and 4 after doing this, for a few years that I really wanted to create something. I think was like the driving force. I felt like I was just sort of part of this, I'm creating paper and I'm creating, kind of this, sort of intangible, really undescribable value somewhere. I mean, I'm getting paid for it, so there's clearly value in it, but like I'm not really creating anything. I'm not really adding anything to the world. And that just kind of hit me like a brick in the head. And I started thinking like, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I want to create? So
I love that. That's totally how I was feeling.
Yeah.
I got I didn't feel like I was like marginalized, but I felt like I had more to offer than what I was doing for the paycheck that I was earning.
Yeah.
And I kept having this, I don't want to call it a quarter life crisis, but I kept having this like come to Jesus moment where I'm like, is this really what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And if so, I'm either going to get bored or just like lose focus or just not be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
So throwing the baton back to you.
Yeah.
What is the aha moment or what is the genesis of your business? I'm not saying the juice laundry yet, but why did you go down this road?
So, well, like you said, a part of it was envisioning what my life would look like if I continued down this path. And to me, I felt like that was going to be, continuing to sit in an office for most of my life, probably not very healthy, probably not super happy. Yeah, I'd probably
stack some
have
paper,
some money, but like at that point, you're kind of wondering like, what good is it if you're just kind of, if this is all you do and this is all you really know. And so I felt like for me, that's cool. Like a lot of
Yeah,
people,
you're not
that's their
marginalizing.
thing. That,
Yeah.
no issues. But for me, I was sort of like, like how can I sort of put myself on a different trajectory? And so initially, it was I just kind of knew I wanted to be my own boss and create something. And at first, I didn't really know what that was. And around the same point in my life, I was starting to be more conscious and more aware of what I was consuming. So I ate like shit my entire life, basically. And I don't blame my parents for this because they were kind of, they were raising 8 kids and also a product of the times. I mean, people didn't know about, about this stuff. So, I mean, we were like, buying bulk stuff and sugary cereals and processed foods. And I mean, that's just what you ate. It's what all my friends ate. It's what all of my, when
it was the norm.
It was the norm. And I never really, even when I was, on my own in college and law school, I didn't think at all about what I was consuming. What I was eating, what I was drinking. And so I was always playing sports and working out and athletics, so it never really, I won't say that, me and one of my best friends gained a lot of weight in law school, where we got to a point where we looked at each other and we were like, dude, we're fucking fat, man. We got to change this. So I'm not saying I was like, completely in shape my whole life, but it, I wasn't healthy necessarily. And so, around this time in my mid-20s, I started really kind of looking into what I was eating, what I was drinking. And for me, it started with like a healthy smoothie in the morning. I started making my own smoothie every morning, throwing, I was going on, website like nuts.com. You can buy all these, different ingredients, just things that I had never really been exposed to, as simple as like chia seeds, flax seeds, stuff like that. And I would just throw like 25 things into my smoothie with like kale and spinach, and they tasted like shit, but like I felt really good when that was what I was starting my day with. And so this is kind of going on simultaneously with me, leaving the law firm, and I'm sort of doing this on my own. And literally, I don't even know if this is true anymore, but in my head, this is how it happened, because I was living with a couple dudes, and a lot of times I would make them whatever I was drinking, and they loved it too. They were also sort of not really in a mindset of caring or really being conscious about what they were eating, but they were like, yeah, these make me feel great. I love when you make me a smoothie in the morning. It kind of like changes my whole day. Like I'm energized, and I don't feel like I'm playing catch up the whole day. And there was just kind of this moment where I'm like,
I'm onto something.
Why not this?
Yeah.
Like,
nice.
I was thinking like, all right, like, if you start a business, or if you want to go out there and like do something, like what do you do? It's got to be something, you're good at. Like, what am I good at? Like I really like baseball, but no one's going to pay me to play baseball, or, I didn't really want to.
You don't want to be a coach.
Yeah.
Scout.
That didn't really move me. And I was thinking like, all right, well, like what else do I like? And I'm sitting there like, making my morning smoothie and making it for, a couple roommates. And I was just thinking like, why not this? Like it seems pretty crazy, because I didn't have even a day's experience in the food industry, restaurant industry, nothing like that. But I felt like, I can figure this out. It can't be that complicated. So it just kind of started with like really tiny steps of sort of pursuing it. And then eventually it got to a point where I was sort of like, oh, I'm just kind of doing this. Like I'm past the point of pulling the plug on it. I've now, done X, Y, and Z, and this is just kind of happening until it either works or doesn't.
I love it. I love it. Heather Hightower, welcome to the program. Fairfax, Arlington, welcome to the program. Give it a like and a share on any of these 12 Facebook pages. Your story aligns yet again similar to mine. I'm going to pass it back to you. 2008, I start this business. Before launching the company, and I mentioned to you off air, doing syndicated radio on 5 ESPN affiliates, 2 TV shows with NBC 29, 3 to 4 stories a week in the Daily Progress, had a website that aggregated all the content, and was crushing it.
Yeah.
but I felt no personal satisfaction.
Yeah.
And I got tired of not calling the shots.
Yeah.
So I told my family and my girlfriend at the time. She has since pieced out. She was the wrong one. And I said, I'm going to start my own business. I walk into my home one day, and my parents, my girlfriend at the time, and 3 or 4 of my closest friends were there, and they literally had an entrepreneurial intervention for me.
Wow.
And said, what the fuck are you doing? You're making good money. Yeah, if it's fun, it's a job. It's not supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
That's why it's called work.
Yeah.
They said that to me constantly.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Screw it. I don't care what you guys say. I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw it to you. When you have law school debt,
Yeah.
you go to a badass law school,
Yeah.
you have a job in D.C. that's withstanding a recession.
Yeah.
Your counterpart's not necessarily so. You want to quit and go down the road of a juice company.
Yeah.
What was the stuff that you were hearing from those close to you?
Well, so I mean, my parents are awesome,
Yeah.
and they're the types of parents who are supportive of their kids regardless. So from them, they might have thought I was crazy. They might have thought it was a silly thing to be attempting, especially in kind of on the heels of the recession and just the uncertainty and all that sort of stuff. But they were, hugely supportive. I also think back then they had no idea what the fuck I was even talking about. They're like, what juice? You're going to be making juice? And like, what even is, like, I know what that is, but like, what are you talking about? You're going to start a juice bar. Like, is that even like the trend hadn't really saturated, beyond like New York and LA. It wasn't something that people were as kind of up on. And so, I don't even think they really understood what I was doing, but they were still supportive of it. They were like, if this is what you want to do, that's cool. Go ahead and do it. I think it was pretty similar, even I'm sure that some of like my law school buddies were like, what the fuck is he, what's he doing? But, everyone was like,
Go
cool.
for it.
Yeah.
And they probably knew you, and that if they said, no, don't do this, it was just fuel for your fire.
Yeah. It wouldn't have changed anything, and it just would have, potentially created, a little bit of friction. So, yeah, I'm sure that probably had something to do with it, where they're sort of like, well, we could make this a thing, but we know it's not going to change anyway, so why even bother? No, it was all pretty supportive. I think that a lot of people are probably like a little bit surprised that it kind of is where it is now. I'm sure they're probably thinking like, yeah, I didn't really see that working out at all. And myself included some days, I kind of look back and I think like, what the hell was I even thinking? It's worked out pretty well so far, but like, man, what was I thinking?
When you officially launch?
So we're in like beginning of 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you met Sarah yet?
No. So Sarah and I meet in...
Sarah's his wife.
Yes.
Okay.
My wife, Sarah. We met in early 2016.
Okay. So 2013, you launched the brand.
Yeah.
What does launching the brand in 2013 look like?
It is subletting a small part of the Carpe Donut shop here in Charlottesville.
And then in Ix?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. This was in McIntyre.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
McIntyre.
So I was put in touch with Matt. It was actually by the Noble girls.
Noble Burger?
Yeah, Noble Burger.
Okay.
I reached out to them pretty early on because I was like, oh, here's like some local Charlottesville people doing something cool, and they might have some insights for me, or just kind of help me sort of figure out what the first steps would be. And they were great, and I still am in touch with them, and they're awesome. And so they put me in touch with Matt. Matt was like, yeah, I can rent out, my space. The deal was they basically closed up at like 2 or 3 every day, and then I would come in and juice. So that was phase 1. I had a website. I was sort of getting into just sort of learning the basics of creating websites and stuff like that. So I'd created a Juice Laundry website where people could order juices for basically like home and office delivery. And oddly enough, people started ordering. I put up the website and, somehow people found out about it and, started ordering. And, so I would go in basically 3 days a week and make juice for anywhere from like 8 to 20 hours at a time. I mean, sometimes I was working straight through like until they, the donut guys were back in the next day, and then I would make deliveries the following days. So basically, I would like juice all of one day and then make deliveries, then juice, again make deliveries, and then I also pretty early on got into the Charlottesville city market. That first year I was kind of on like a temporary spot where I would get in if there was an opening.
Yeah. That market's huge.
Yeah. And then by the following year, I had gotten like a regular spot. So that gave us an opportunity to kind of expose the brand and product to more people, a lot more people than we're seeing it just through our website. I mean, we had like a very loyal and, like a small but very loyal following in terms of the ordering. But then, I think the city market really allowed us to kind of like, really get in front of a lot more, eyeballs.
How did you go? So this is early 2013. How did you go from DC mid-sized law firm to coming back to Charlottesville?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess I kind of skipped over that, but so I left the firm in maybe that must have been like mid 2012.
Okay.
And my one of my older sisters and her family had just moved back to Charlottesville from Richmond.
Is this the older sister that went to UVA?
Yes.
Okay.
So she loved Charlottesville, and it was always kind of part of her plan, if things worked out, that they would move back here. And so with my brother-in-law's job, they were finally in a position where they could do it.
Okay.
And so she was like, and I felt like Charlottesville was, maybe the right place to try to launch this.
Definitely.
Because it didn't really have anything at the time.
And we're forward-thinking, and we support local, and we're cosmopolitan and kind of like cutting edge for a small country town.
Exactly, for sure, yeah. And so she was like, why don't you come stay? Like, we've got a room in our basement. You can come stay with us for a little bit, just kind of like explore the idea, feel, see if it's the right fit for you. I think I ended up living with Sarah and Sam. This is my sister, Sarah, and her husband, Sam. And they have 3 kids, Molly, Max, and Evan, if they're not watching right now. But I probably ended up living with them for more like 6 to 8 months.
Nice.
I overstayed my welcome. They were fortunately really, great about it. And but so yeah, that's kind of how that all came together. And I always kind of look at it as like those 3 things. It was like I knew I wanted to start a business. I ultimately decided I wanted it to kind of be in like the health and wellness arena, which is something that was becoming important to me personally, and Charlottesville, and like. That was kind of the where in an ideal world. And so those 3 things kind of like intersected all at the right time. The timing just worked out well for it.
Nice. I love this story. So when you are opening the business, you got folks outside Philly watching right now. You got folks all over Richmond and Charlottesville watching. When you opened the business in early 2013, you still have a law school debt.
Yeah.
Okay. When I launched my business in 2008, like I mentioned to you off air, I had no clients for 6 months. You had the opposite. You got clients right away. You said it was a small group of clients, but you still had a little bit of revenue coming in here.
Yeah.
How were you sustaining life and
really
livelihood?
Through the, both generosity of my sister and her family, Sam and Sarah, to live rent-free for really as long as I needed, was kind of just, I don't think they ever would have kicked me out if I wasn't able to, be out there on my own. And so, that was huge. And then also, really eventually it came from financial support from friends and family who basically, once I kind of had the vision a little bit more defined and had a little bit of data in terms of sales, and this is what we can expect. And if we grow into our own space, this is what we can expect. A little bit more of a business model for it. I had some friends and family going back to, these are high school friends. Danny, Natalie, Josh, they all know, and then a couple law school friends, Elliot and Johnny, and then some family, who, just gave what they comfortably could, and really with, no expectation or, guarantee that it would work out. I certainly have like a guarantee in my head that everyone's going to get at least their money back on it. That was like from that, day one, it was sort of like, that was important to me. But, really they just kind of, believed in the concept and in, I guess in me being able to execute it. So that was how we were able to kind of get through those first couple years, and then ultimately into our first own physical location.
You'll love this. Grace is watching the program. She watches routinely. Jerry, please pass this along to your guests. We're watching at our law firm in Richmond. You know I love your program and miss Charlottesville, and one day want to get back to Charlottesville. Please let your guests know, from one lawyer to another, from one UVA law school grad to another, we enjoy his story, and we're watching around Cube City here at the firm.
Right on. Thanks, Chris.
Callie Reefsteck, welcome to the program. She's watching right now. So you have a little bit of a proof of performance. This proof of performance allows you to leverage a friends and family raise. The friends and family raise gives you the seed money, the capital infusion to get the business exponentially going in the direction you want.
Yeah.
What's that direction?
Our own retail shop.
Is that the corner?
So this is Preston.
Okay,
is
Preston.
Our first space.
Gotcha.
So in another bit of, I kind of look at like a series of fortunate coincidences that all kind of came at the right moments for us to kind of, be where we are today. And one of them was the old Coca-Cola building on Preston, being renovated and being opened up to some retail tenants. And very fortunately, one of our great customers who continues to be a customer, had a little bit of pull in terms of getting the Juice Laundry one of those spots.
Who's that, Johnny Pritzloff?
Johnny was who we worked with.
Yeah?
But Park Capshaw.
Okay.
So she, she goes back to the very beginning, and she's amazing. And, I think that given my lack of track record and financials, would have had a hard time getting a typical lease in a nice higher profile
badass
spot
building.
Like that.
Yeah.
And but we were able to work it out, and I think from their perspective, again, it was definitely like taking a chance on this idea and me. Really at that point, it was still just me. Jake, who still lives in Charlottesville, Jake Morris, he was kind of employee 1A, my first like assistant juicer. So he was part of it at that time as well. But we didn't really have any, big financial backing or any sort of experience in the industry that would lead people to say, oh, okay, he's going to be successful with this because he was already successful with this. And so, it was a lot of people kind of taking chances. And, for me, that's kind of always been part of the driving force of it. I kind of recognize that people are taking a chance on me. And so I want to outperform what, expectations might be. And so, that was a huge opportunity for us to, get into an awesome space with some awesome, the Beer Run dudes who did Cardinal were,
Josh.
We're part of that, Josh and his bro. And
John.
Yeah. And, so it sort of gave us some, a bit more of like a high profile opening than we otherwise might have had. if I was just kind of opening in you know, the back of some
Sure.
warehouse or something like that.
Can you characterize, I love this question, and let's welcome some other folks to the program here. Let's welcome Jacqueline Greiger. She's watching the program. She's running the show over there for Craig Hartman and Barbecue Exchange. Jacqueline is amazing. She did phenomenal work for my wife and I at our wedding. Eliza White.
She is amazing. Eliza with Fly Dog?
Yeah, Fly Dog. She's been on the show.
Right on,
She
of
sat
course.
on that chair right there. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Irina Lambro, giving you some props as we speak.
Irina, wow, yeah. Right on.
You got some
Atlanta,
people watching.
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Paul Shockley, welcome to the program. Kenneth Martin, hello. Okay, I'm going to throw this to you. Can you characterize the risk of going from a sublet on the back of Matt's Carpe Donut office and off hours to going Class A commercial in the Coke building in the heart of Charlottesville? I mean, that's balls to the wall right there.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I think at many points in starting this business, my ignorance is the only thing that sort of led me to make certain decisions that I maybe otherwise wouldn't have.
Okay.
If I was,
but you're an attorney, though. You know personal guarantees.
No, I know. I mean, I'm not. Maybe ignorance is the wrong word, but sort of a naivete.
Gotcha.
Of like, you know, just sort of. You know, if I work hard at this, it'll all work out okay. And I mean, that's not a guarantee. I mean, plenty of hardworking small business owners know that.
80% of small businesses fail in their first 3 years. 80% plus.
You know, but I mean, I think for me, I just kind of felt like I'll figure it out. You know, if the time comes where, you know, this is difficult or that's difficult, like it's just a problem that will need to be solved, and we'll figure it out. But yeah, I mean, it was a big step, and I honestly had no idea. And you mentioned Jacqueline's watching, so I just want to give a little shout out to her, because this is indicative of sort of like where we were at in those early days. Jacqueline has been a customer at Preston for since the very beginning, and she's incredible. And
she's awesome.
One day she actually jumped behind the counter because we were so like busy and overwhelmed, and I hadn't even been able to hire enough people to legitimately staff the store. And Jacqueline comes, she like sees that, and she's like, "Oh my God, they're in trouble back there."
Yeah.
And she jumps around and starts like working the cash register for us for a little bit. And you know, I mean, that's it's not only indicative of, you know, the type of person she is, but also like my own just, you know, lack of knowledge about like what this was going to look like, what it was going to entail. I mean, I remember the first, you know, sort of like open interview hiring meeting that I had before we opened at the Coke building, and this is now like September 2015. You know, I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to hire like 4 people or like 40 people. Like I don't even know which one I should be closer to. And you know, I think we started with like 8 or 10 people, and very quickly it became clear that was not enough. But I was like 24/7 at the shop. I didn't even have time to think about how do I bring in more people to interview? I mean, literally people were walking in and being like, "Hey, are you guys hiring?" I'd be like, "Yep, you can start tomorrow. I don't know anything about you, but like if you want to work here, you're on the team." And
that's awesome.
That's one word for it, but I mean, also like unprepared is another word for it, and it led to some serious chaos early on.
Some growing pains, but how would you otherwise have known though?
No.
Like, I mean, because like the worst thing would have been is to go on so heavy on the payroll that it sucked up your cash, and then would have impacted the growth of the business. So you did it the right way by bootstrapping.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, it all worked out, and you know, and then we were open for about 6 months, 5 or 6 months before I met Sarah. That was through yoga. We both have
was that at Fly Dog?
Taught yoga. No, it wasn't. But actually, so I'm trying to get my timing right. I think Eliza had just opened Fly Dog
in the Millmont shops. Jessica Dang Norby is watching now.
All right,
and she says, "Go, Mike, go!" Woohoo! She's watching.
So Sarah was doing her teacher training at Opal at the time. So this is like early 2016. And I was doing mine at Mosaic, which is now Now Yoga on Preston Ave, right across from the Coke Building. And we actually, we met at a yoga class at Mosaic, and we got married 3 weeks to the day after we met.
Get out of town. Yeah. Dude, the parallels with us again align. I meet my wife. We have a satellite office in New Providence, New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm coming back after grinding for a week, like 65 hours up in New Jersey. I'm in the shittiest airport of all time, LaGuardia Airport.
Oh, yeah.
Flying from LaGuardia to Cho to get back home. To go probably, this is Friday afternoon, going straight to the bar because I've been grinding so hard. I see this girl in the airport stomping around.
Is it Charlottesville or LaGuardia?
This is LaGuardia.
Okay.
So she's working in finance in the city. She's up in her 20s, late 20s, upset, tired of her job, working at a cubicle, 80 hours a week. Making good, just like making good money, but so fed up with it. Yeah. She's coming to Charlottesville for the weekend to see her best friend and her husband. She's stomping around. They're going straight to the vineyards. The airport is late. Yeah. I'm dressed literally in a tank top, camo shorts, and rainbow sandals. She's dressed to go out to the vineyards. I'm like, who the F is this? Yeah. I sit next to her on the plane, switch seats to sit next to her, chat her up, because for 75 minutes, it's not like she could fucking leave. Yeah. We're on an airplane. Yeah. Okay, we chat her up. 5 weeks later, she moves down to Charlottesville, quits her job. Wow. Comes to Charlottesville, and then the next March, we're engaged. So back to you. You meet Sarah, yoga, and 3 weeks later, you guys are saying, I do?
Yeah, so...
That's amazing. Tell me that story.
So we're coming up 2 days from our actual first anniversary because we got married on Leap Day 2016. So this is actually our first... and that, I think that was part of it. I mean, we kind of knew from the moment we met that, I think we both kind of knew that we were going to get married, and
when you know.
Yeah, and we kind of talked very early on about neither one of us really wanting to do like the big wedding thing and the whole, just the whole deal with like the invites and the
pomp and circumstance.
Yeah. And that kind of became, well, like how small could we actually do this? And I think we were talking on a Friday and Leap Day was on a Monday, and we were like, well, I mean, we could just do it. We could do it on Leap Day. That's kind of cool. We don't have to celebrate our anniversary as often if we do it on Leap Day, And so we went down to the court on Friday, got our certificate, and then set up a ceremony right outside the courthouse in Lee Park, Lee Square, whatever that one's called, and a sheriff married us on Monday.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I
love it. What's it like working with the better half?
Well, man, I mean, it's a roller coaster. It's tough, and so. Sarah still does like all of our social media and marketing. She's kind of like,
she's
the
good at
creative force. Yeah. She's awesome at it. And, she's very much like a part of the creative energy and sort of the bigger picture, when in terms of our sustainability initiatives and kind of outreach type stuff. A lot of that is her. And she works also full-time for Green Blue, which is a Charlottesville-based, it's a kind of a sustainability nonprofit. They advise big companies on sustainability initiatives and stuff like that. So she does that full-time, but also devotes a lot of her time to the juice laundry. And I think for us it was about finding. We kind of went from like doing it 100% together to like, all right, let's kind of scale this back, because it was, it really overwhelms your life when you're working together, but also building a life together. There, like the separation between church and state there becomes, non-existent.
Especially with people like our personalities and mindsets. Yeah. Because you probably have a hard time turning off.
Yes, she would agree with that.
Me too.
And so it became
strengths and weaknesses.
Right. And especially like when we met, I was doing a lot of I've always been like a nighttime worker. Like I would start working at like 11, work till like 4 or 5, 6 a.m., then sleep late. that's how I wrote papers in college and law school. I mean, that's just how I always operated. And so a lot of like the admin type stuff that I was doing late at night. That had always been my schedule. And that doesn't really work as well when you're married, and it's like you're trying to kind of create like a little more normalcy in terms of the schedule and all that. And but yeah, it just kind of became overwhelming where we felt like we could never really get away from it at all. And also the business was in a much different stage at that point, where I still was a lot more hands-on and had to be there a lot more than I do now.
Yeah.
I mean, we had fewer locations, but we didn't have all the other pieces in place in terms of having, great managers and other people who are kind of shouldering a lot of that load. So, for us, we just really kind of had to find like, what's the balance here for us? I mean, she, is obviously hugely involved, but it's more in like a very specific area of it. And I don't need to, bore her with like the logistics of the day-to-day stuff. Yeah.
That literally is what happened to my wife and I.
Yeah.
Well, upstairs, we were sitting next to each other for 50, 60 hours a week. And I'm telling you what, that is so freaking hard.
Yeah.
And now it's a little bit more compartmentalized, where she's doing project management from home with our little boy and a laptop.
Yeah.
And that space, as your term, separation of church and state, has been beneficial to the relationship.
Yeah.
And then I'm also learning slowly, and she would say it's been very fucking slow, that when I get home to leave this here, and when I go home, be like a husband. The tough part is I look at what happens in this building as like, I don't want to say almost like a wife, but like almost like a child, like my kid.
It is, yeah. And I mean, and when you're responsible for your own livelihood
and other people,
and other people's, yeah. I mean, it is like I don't feel like it's sort of funny because everyone kind of says at some point, I think like, oh, I'd love to be my own boss, and you kind of think of the positive aspects of that, but you don't necessarily think about like the responsibility that comes with it. And so, yeah, I mean, it is like a kid or a second wife or something like that. But,
Liz Reynolds watching the program.
What's up,
now.
Liz?
You're getting some props from. We'll just relay a couple names here. Fleury is giving you some love. Props. Fleury Restaurant. April Palmer says hello.
April.
Give it a like and a share. Neil Williamson from the Free Enterprise Forum. George Collier. Brent Lillard. Hello. Okay, so how does the business? Dude, you guys have a killer brand. I got touched by the brand the first time at the farmer's market. How does the business go from a temporary stall at the farmer's market to opening up in the Coke building on Preston Avenue to then going UVA Corner, AFC, UVA Gym, DC, Richmond?
Yeah, so I mean, really every stage of our growth, I would say, has sort of been an opportunity that was presented to us that we felt like it was a good one to pursue. I mean, we haven't really set out with any sort of agenda or mission or any sort of like we're going to have this many stores by this many by this year or anything like that. When we had Preston, and then it must have been like mid to late 2016. So we were, Preston had been open for about a year, a little bit under, and this dude from DC calls me and he's like, yo, I was just in Charlottesville. I went to a wedding with my fiance, and she brought me into the juice laundry the morning after the wedding, and like it was awesome. And I'm a leasing agent for this new building, and we have been looking for a juice bar, but we want something that's more like local. We don't want like a national chain or something like that. He's like, have you guys ever considered expanding to DC? And I was like, not really. I mean, yeah, like I know DC exists and it might be a logical place for us to expand someday, but it's not something I've ever been actively pursuing. But Sarah and I went up there and we met with them and we kind of, checked out the space and we were sort of like, all right, this could be a cool opportunity for us. And, we ultimately decided to go forward with that. And then, of course, like once we commit to that, we get a phone call from my boy Hunter, who owns
This is
some
Richmond?
of the No, this is the corner space.
Okay, gotcha.
So he's kind of a longtime customer, and he owns number of the buildings on the corner. And he's like, Mike, I got a space opening up. It's not on the market, but I think it might be great for you guys. And like my thought was always like, why would we ever want to open up on the corner? It's just going to kind of cannibalize like our business, with the students who come, to our Preston location. But by that point, we were kind of like busting at the seams at Preston. And so then it became, then I started thinking of the reasons why it might make sense. Like, hey, if we can get like, all of the UVA students, all of our customers,
they would stay there.
They go
and they
there,
wouldn't go to Preston.
And now that, and so now we can kind of like
demand is managed.
Exactly. So we can
brilliant.
We can do a better job of serving our Preston customers,
Yeah.
and also do a better job of serving UVA kids, because also a lot of them don't have cars or aren't taking Ubers around town.
Sure.
So that, again, it was like an opportunity where, and I always joke, I remember, talking to Hunter about it, and I'm like,
This is Hunter Craig.
Hunter Craig, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like,
so one of your customers is one of the largest commercial owners in Charlottesville, Virginia.
yeah, Hunter's the best.
Yeah, Hunter's
he's a
people.
great guy. Yeah.
Dude, isn't it crazy how like opportunity knocks with life, and it's just a matter of like opening the door and walking through.
Yeah, for sure. So I remember like, asking Hunter, I'm like, all right, well, like, we're kind of doing this DC thing. Like, can I have a little time? And he's like, no, you got to tell me in like, 2 days. Yeah, I'll give you 2 days to do it. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, how about negotiating the lease at all? He's like, no, this is it. This is like what we, this is the terms here. And so I'm like, okay, well, it's actually kind of nice. Like, this is pretty simple. Like, I just need to decide like
Yes
whether
or no.
this is something we want to pursue or not. It's not, it's very black and white. And, so it
Sounds like Hunter.
It was, and I mean, Hunter's literally the nicest guy in the world. And that's just how it is. I mean, corner is a completely different ball game from the rest of, a lot of other parts of Charlottesville. And so like that one is now on our radar, and I'm like, Sarah, look, all right, this is crazy. Like, this is going to make our life like really complicated and maybe difficult, but like this is also kind of an opportunity that may never come around again. And talk to my friends and family, who are investors in the juice laundry, because again, this is also like we now need to raise a little bit more money if we're going to be building out a second space in addition to this one in DC that we're doing. And everyone was like, yeah, this is, if you think it's a good opportunity, we trust that, and we think you should do it. So, we decided to do it, and so now all of a sudden we go from having one store, 2015, 2016, to we open up stores 2 and 3 around the summer of 2017. So now it's not only is it a second store in Charlottesville, but we're also now managing this store 2.5 hours away in DC. Yeah. So that was, I would say that like 2017 into 2018 was
Sounds hard as
not
fuck.
the smoothest time for anything. And, but again, it was like we also learned a ton about what it looks like to take a concept from, one store where I can be there 24/7 if I need to be, and to like scale this out and see, just see what that looks like, see what sorts of people we need to be bringing onto the team in order to make that happen. And, so that's how it happened. It was less like seeking expansion out and more, kind of assessing the opportunities that came our way and saying these two are ones that we want to pursue.
I love it. So you're going to get a kick out of this comment. Your former landlord at one time in your life is watching. Sarah Keenan Harris. She says, yes, we are watching. Thanks for the shout out, little bro.
Yeah.
She's watching the program. What's up, Sarah? All right. And I'm also going to
Don't these kids have school or what?
I know, they maybe pulled
maybe
out
they're
to
just
watch
watching.
the uncle.
Yeah.
Also give some love to Andrew Thomas watching the program. So you guys are scaling the concept. In a short period of time, you're opening up locations 2 and 3, 1 2.5 hours away, one in arguably one of the most coveted shopping, dining, retail districts in the corner in Charlottesville, Virginia. What in the hell is going through your mind at the time? Can you put in perspective stress?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Yes, there have been moments of stress or, moments of like, is this all going to work? Or, how do we make this work? But I mean, also everything has been just the next small step on top of what we've already done. And so even when we opened up, stores 2 and 3 within like a month of each other.
It's crazy.
It still, it didn't feel, I don't think, as crazy as maybe it is. I don't know. Like, it still sort of felt like just kind of like a logical step in the progression.
It's a do what you got to do mentality.
Yeah. And, I mean, look, I will say I have taken the do what you have to do mentality overboard to the point where I think that, to the point where Sarah would say, this is way over the top.
Pump the
in
brakes.
terms of, yes, like in terms of like what we're doing to our lives, what our lives look like in pursuit of, of growing the business.
And how it conflicts with quality of life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we also have one of my good friends going back to high school. Danny and his wife live up in DC, and they were nice enough again to sort of give us a place to crash when we were building out the DC space. And, I mean, that was huge because it was like, all right, we don't need to be like spending money on hotel rooms or like getting an apartment up in DC or something like that. So, I mean, that was a huge gift to us, but also at the same time, it's like we only had one dog at the time, but our dog was staying with Sarah's parents in Richmond. And, that's like a huge just kind of, thing to not be around, especially for Sarah, to not be around Aluna, who's our first dog. And, we're sleeping on an air mattress in my buddy's basement in DC. And I mean, it takes its toll when like you think you're going to be doing that for maybe like a couple weeks, and then that turns into a couple months, and then it's sort of like, man, like what are we doing here? Let's get this done so that we can kind of get back to our normal life down in Charlottesville.
You're getting props from Ryan Seaforce.
So,
yeah.
First law school roommate.
Giving you some love.
What's up, Ryan? How you doing, man?
Give it a like and a share on any of these Facebook pages you're watching the program on. Sean Singletary, UVA basketball player at one time, giving you some love here. Natalie Burton, giving the feed some love. So, plans for the business now. Owner, operator, or operator of locations, super tough.
Yeah.
Especially when you have them in different municipalities or 2.5 hours away.
Yeah. What
is the plan for the brand? How do you scale even further?
Well, so our Richmond location, which we just opened in October, we've done through like a partnership licensing arrangement with with Billy Salter. He's a family connection. He has experience opening food franchises in the past, and when we kind of first started talking to him about this this is going back to, I guess, about a year ago, we felt like he was the right kind of person to take our concept and bring it to Richmond. So as I mentioned to you before we were live, I'm kind of done opening up stores myself. I feel like I've sort of maxed out my my tolerance for doing that.
You can't clone yourself.
Yeah, and so I think at this point, any further growth that we have is going to kind of be done in these sorts of terms, where we find someone who's capable and has the right mindset for what we're doing, and sort of agrees philosophically and with all of the principles that guide our business, and and who wants to take it and kind of run with it in a new locality. And the other thing too, which we didn't really touch on yet, but we opened up at the AFC this past fall too. And so that partnership with UVA Dining has been, kind of a completely new way of approaching opening up a store.
AFC is the Aquatics Fitness Center at the University of Virginia. It's a dope facility.
Yeah, awesome facility. It's got, basketball courts and, the full Olympic swimming pool and all that. And they have a kind of a cafe retail space there, and they approached us last summer about kind of taking that over. And so we operate it and we staff it, and it's all of the same products and menu that we have at our other locations, but we're kind of doing it under the umbrella of UVA Dining. And that sort of arrangement is something that I could see replicating at other campuses.
That would crush it.
Around.
So you're hedging risk because you don't have the overhead of a long-term lease. It's a matter of managing personnel, making sure they show up, oversight and overseeing them, and making sure the brand is up to standards at that respective location.
Exactly.
And the cool part about doing it in the university model is you're touching people with the brand right on the cusp of them becoming adults and going into the workforce, where they then start having disposable income.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think a lot of what we're doing as a business and as a brand wouldn't have necessarily resonated a decade ago or 15 years ago, like with my crowd when I was in college. It wasn't stuff that
because we were drinking natural light and Busch Light.
Exactly.
We didn't care about our bodies.
No, we didn't. And but these kids now they're so much more switched on when it comes to the impact they're having as consumers. Yeah. And what
it's
effect.
The internet.
Yeah. And so it's cool because we see a lot of the UVA students who come in, especially to that location, who really know the deal with like plant-based and organic, and this is why we use compostable, disposables, so that they're very like up on this is the shit they care about, because they're the ones who are having to live with all of the mistakes that our generations and the generations before us have made,
or seeing their parents go through health issues. My dad, for example, getting diabetes when he's 39 years old, and seeing the impact that had on him,
for sure,
had me change some of my mindset and my brother as well.
Yeah, for
sure. So there's just more like knowledge.
Yeah, more knowledge, more awareness, and I think more of a, I think it's more of like a. Less selfishness, I think that our generation and generations before us, it's sort of like, what do I need to do to ensure my retirement and my comfort and all this stuff? Just like a very self-centered approach to like how we're living life. And, I think that in terms of, political views, but more just mindset. They're kind of thinking bigger picture. Like, do I really need all of this shit that's being pushed on me, or is that just consumerism? And what do I really need? What do I want? What's important to me? And so you're seeing a generation of consumers who are, I think, focused more on what they're consuming and the experiences that they're having. Like, that's more important to them than the materialistic stuff that I think was more, that kind of more defined, older people, kind of like what we have, what our house is decorated with, what sort of car we drive, and now it's like, what experiences am I having? I want to travel. I want to do cool shit. I want to eat good stuff that's going to make me feel good, so that I'm like optimized to go enjoy my life. So
2 more questions.
Yeah.
We are 70 minutes in. We never go
Damn.
over 60,
Yeah.
but we go over 60 for you because your story is inspiring, and I'm seeing people stay sticky here on the feed here. I'm going to throw 2 more questions to you. Scaling the brand from a grocery store shelf space and a direct-to-consumer through a website. The possibilities there are very different. Direct-to-consumer through online is going to be your best margin possible. The grocery store is going to be a crappy margin, but it's going to give you a lot of brand exposure.
Right.
I'll get out of the way on those two topics.
We are prohibited from selling our raw juice in grocery stores. So there's FDA prohibition on wholesaling raw juice. Anything you see on the shelf at Whole Foods or anywhere else
It's not raw.
has been pasteurized in some way.
Okay.
Either with heat or with pressure or with light. So that's not even an option for us unless we want to compromise our product, which is not something that we want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Direct to consumer.
So that's an easy one. We don't even have to think about it.
Not an option.
Yeah.
Okay, direct to consumer. Through the website.
So you mean like no retail?
Yeah.
Just
going like them ordering online and then picking up.
At our stores?
Yeah.
Or
yeah. Could that ever work?
I think it could. I mean, we have an app now, so customers can pre-order through the app and then just come in, pick it up. It's already paid for, all that stuff. So I mean, we're trying to do things that kind of improve the user experience. Where if someone's in a hurry, they can
Saves
get
time.
this done and get in and out. But I mean, honestly, I think that for the most part, you can come in and even if you're, all of our juices and we have a lot of stuff that's bottled and just grab and go, like you can be in and out in a second anyway. But even if you're waiting on like a smoothie or a smoothie bowl, it's not going to take that long. So I mean, I don't think we're really in the same boat maybe as like, if you got to go somewhere and maybe wait like half hour, 40 minutes to get something made.
Gotcha.
It's always going to be a little quicker than that. So yeah.
You crushed this. Last question we throw to all our guests. Your lack of better phrase of State of the Union for Charlottesville, Virginia in, February 27th, 2020.
Yeah.
You are passionate about this community. Your freaking family lives here. I totally respect that. A lot of your family.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about this community. Charlottesville is almost 2.5 years from A12.
Yeah.
We got a long way to go. Entrepreneur to entrepreneur, business owner, leader to leader here. State of the Union, Charlottesville, Virginia, on this day.
What do I want to see?
Yeah.
Or what?
Advice, what do you want to see, where we're at, what your thoughts are with the community?
Well, I mean, Charlottesville is a very unique and incredible place. I think everyone who has ever been here understands that. And what I would like to see is Charlottesville become a national leader on really on fighting climate change. So like what can we be doing as a mid-sized city, whatever, however you want to categorize Charlottesville, what can we be doing to make the changes that we know need to be made at a societal level to start undoing the damage that we've done? And how can we, what can we do to get businesses to get on board with this, to get, city government on board with this, state government on board with this, get all of the participants who need to come together with a common view and a common approach and a common desire to do this. I think that Charlottesville has all of the ingredients to be that sort of place.
Me too.
It's like you look at like San Francisco. It's kind of like they're always kind of the first ones to like ban plastic bags, do a lot of that sort of stuff. Like, why isn't Charlottesville that city for America? I think that we could be, and I think that we should be, and I think that it will. We could kind of create the model for other cities to follow because we have, I think that mix of like, we've got smart people, we've got passionate people, we've got people who are committed to this city, we've got, we have it all, like let's do it because that is the most important thing in my mind because everything else is not even a topic of conversation if we don't figure out how human beings are going to survive on this planet for, well into the future.
Love that.
Yeah.
That is a perfect way to... Dude, you fucking crushed this.
Thanks, man.
Crushed.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
You are made for this type of setting. We never go 75 minutes on this program, but we did with Mike and the inspiring journey of the brand, the Juice Laundry. Support local. Small business owners, the backbone of any community, and this dude is good people, his family, good people as well. We'll archive this show in totality on ilovecville.com, and for the next 2 weeks, we'll syndicate it across the I Love CVille network, which is 17 Facebook pages, 17 Twitter accounts. We have a newsletter that goes out to a little over 130,000 inboxes every morning at 11 a.m. We'll take the audio and turn it into an iTunes and Apple podcast by close of business today. We'll put the full version up on the website, and we'll pump him on the I Love CVille Instagram page, which is the third largest in the community behind UVA and the city of Charlottesville. I close with the same message every single show. I ask everybody that is watching the program to please embody the golden rule. Just treat the people in your life how you want to be treated yourself. It's such a simple concept on paper, but I feel like it's a concept that's missing from so much of the country and the world. It is the golden rule. My name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille Show. Tomorrow, Friday, means live music on the program. Also, we have our real estate show, Real Talk, at 10:15 tomorrow morning, where we're going to talk affordable housing and how we can make this community more approachable, more welcoming, and more hospitable for people at all income levels. We got to do something about the wealth gap that is undoubtedly becoming much larger and much more prevalent in this city that we love. It cannot just be about the haves or have-nots. We got to do something about this, and we're going to try to do our small part here at I Love CVille. Enjoy your afternoon, guys. Take care. Dude, so good. Seriously,
man. Yeah,
thank you.
It was fun.
It was fun. It was fun. I appreciate you. I really like that how you finished right there. Climate change.